the No Limit Selling Podcast, where mindset meets sales and leadership. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the No Limit Selling Podcast, where we talk to thought leaders. And the whole idea is to get tips and tricks we can implement immediately to get results. And today we're joined by an author, a consultant, a coach, Piers Fallowfield Cooper. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
So leadership is something we're interested in. I'm not sure how many books pop up when I go to Amazon and I put in that field, but a lot. And you think by now we would have figured out how to build great leaders. And the reality is we have not. So what do you think that disconnect is of what we see as highly effective leaders that get people that follow them to go above and beyond versus people that are struggling with the art?
Whoa. No,
right out of the gate.
I was going to say, yes, no gentle, tell us about you kind of question. Right. It's an expression I use in the book. There's a big difference between leaders and what I've referred to as PILPs, P-I-L-P-S, people in leadership positions. Leaders are very active. PILPs tend to get on the travelator at one end, hope they don't screw up and get off at the other in a senior position. And it's a completely different approach to life. I'm almost speechless because your question is so profound. Why are we still talking about what it is to be a good leader?
So here's an interesting kind of data point. I was doing this training across America to different folks, a group of people that were like high school graduates working at a tire factory or PhDs in Silicon Valley that are scientists. So a whole group of different people. And one of the exercises was tell me 5 attributes of a leader. And then people would go up and write them on posters across the room. Yep. And of course, we got 60, 80, 100 different attributes, some of them repeated. And then I went, hold on, let's stop this. Then I went and said, okay, pick your top 5 for the group. What was interesting, no matter who the group was, high school graduates or PhDs, the 5 traits of leadership was the same no matter which group. The actual list itself was pretty diverse, but when it came down to everybody, they picked the 5. So I think as a group, we know what good leadership is. So it's still astounding that it's hard to find great leaders.
I think one of the key qualities a leader should have is the ability to energize.
Yes.
And that is to energize others, energize a group, energize a business, energize themselves, energize their colleagues, because that spark, that creation of energy, that creation of opportunity, along, I think, with a level of decency, takes you up to a whole new level.
So they were the two of the 5 attributes. One was having a vision that's so compelling that other people kind of go, I want to make that happen.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was kind of interesting was respect was an attribute that every single group had in there, that a leader respects the people that they lead. And that really leads to a deeper respect coming back at them. So you kind of hit 2 of those things squarely. The other thing I think that's kind of interesting is that sometimes when we're going on a journey, we don't have enough faith in ourselves. But if you have a really good leader, we can borrow their trust in us and overlook the fear and go on the journey anyway. And we're astounded that we were able to accomplish something which leads us to get more confidence and more trust in ourselves. So please talk about that ability that leaders have to lend that trust to the people that they lead.
There's a lovely quote which I will try and half remember, I think originally it was Lao Tse, but it's also attributed to Robert Greenleaf. And it's about this idea of servant leadership,
Hmm.
which is that at the end of the journey, the doing, the people will think they've done it for themselves.
Yeah.
So really good leaders, whether you're leader of a team or leader of a big unit or leader of business, if you're really good, you've made that journey from I to we, you know? So it's no longer about I, it's about us, what we did. And I think that's incredibly energizing and powerful.
So I'm going to give you like this data point. I'm not sure it connects to leadership, but it might, and I would love to get your thoughts on it. I saw this thing on stage where there were two sets of tap dancers on both sides of the stage, and they were having this duel back and forth. What was interesting was the tap dancers on the left side were amazing, and you and I would both go, "Oh my god, I could never do that." The people on the right side were so good; they made it look effortless. It was like water flowing, and it gave you the illusion I could do that because they made it look easy. And that was a different level of mastery above mechanical mastery beyond that. So that ability to be almost invisible and be that leader, is there a connection there or am I?
No, no. So I think there's something very interesting. I'd been in a restaurant and it was somebody had taken me out. It was fancy, and we'd finished the meal and the crumbs were removed.
Hmm.
It was a very very pleasant. Uh, he was Italian, and this was his career. It wasn't a job he was doing;
Mm.
his career. So
This is the waiter we're talking about?
this is the waiter. Yep.
Yes.
And so I spoke, and he did this beautiful thing where he arranged with a kind of little flourish. He arranged the salt and the pepper and the sugar and the flour just beautifully. And I thought it was very interesting. I said, you know, people learn like tying shoelaces or doing up a necktie. First of all, it's a complete mystery. Then they learn there's something there about how they do this magic thing.
Mm.
And then there's, oh, if I wrap that one over, and then at the end you move from that conscious competence into unconscious competence. You just do it. But I
Yes.
believe there's this next one along, which is the aesthetic form. And he was demonstrating this aesthetic form. And when I said this to him, suddenly he kind of flushed and momentarily sort of almost what, and he touched his heart and he said, "Oh, thank you," because there was an appreciation of the beauty and the energy that he was putting back in. So I think somewhere in here there is an artistic quality, an elegant quality. The word that comes next to mind is a generous quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. You know what's kind of interesting is most people in life never feel that the person they're talking to is attending to them. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know. I know. Isn't it terrible? Oh,
and so when a leader, like one of the things you hear is like Bill Clinton's a good example. You heard this a lot is that there'd be a room full of people, and if Bill Clinton was talking to you, it was as if you were the only person in the entire world.
yeah.
And so I think if leaders can see the person that they're leading and do it in a way the other person can feel that attention, that is such a gift you give people that allows them to want to do better.
We find often in life, don't we? So many times that we actually know the person hasn't listened to us.
What was that?
The-
Joke. I'm sorry.
That's a very good joke, but that they haven't listened. They've said, "Oh yeah, we're going to get that fixed," and you know that nothing's going to get happened.
Yeah, you can sense it immediately.
It's
So
very. Can we pick up on that a little bit?
sure.
Um, I think one of the things about leadership is that people know. People know if they're being led well. They know if they're being led with integrity. They know if the person who's leading them has more interest than just themselves in it. People know at deep level, it doesn't matter what's said. You could turn the sound off. People would know. So there is no faking leadership. Ultimately, there is no faking it.
I think here's kind of something interesting is that the more I know myself, because your mind lies to you. When I go, oh no, the leader is doing the right thing. Oh no, he didn't mean this, and we rationalize stuff away. But our body never lies to us. But
Mm-hmm.
most people are so disconnected from their body, and that we miss all those clues that are like glaring symbols. I'm getting an uncomfortable feeling in my gut. I like what the leader's saying, but I've got this anxiety coming in, and it's like, where's that anxiety coming from? And it's like, oh, okay, there's a disconnect from what he or she is saying and what they're actually doing. So I think one of the things that we need to do as good leaders is lead ourselves. And to do that, you need to know yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
if you can know yourself, then you've got that true north you can use to make sure you're on the right track, and more importantly, you can actually gauge the people that you're leading as well.
So life is an embodied experience.
Yes.
And generally, the world you experience outside will be a manifestation of what's going on inside.
Yes.
So I would 100% be with you and actively encourage your listeners to be paying attention to those little whispers, those signals in the system, both internal and external, and paying huge attention to it.
Absolutely. And I think so. We've covered a lot of traits of leadership. Here is one that is kind of interesting: is sometimes there is something beyond the horizon, and you
Mm-hmm.
have a sense of knowing of it, but you can't prove it. And this is where leaders kind of really step out and say, hey, everybody is here in this area, but we need to go there, because I think that's where the promised land is. Uh, Thoughts on that? Is this more fairy tale
No, 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 no,
myths, or
no.
is that spot on? And if it is, how does that work?
So, whoa, there's so much in there. So, first of all, just a small red flag. By the time you're getting ready to share that with others, you will have been thinking about it for months. Just remember that in the communication,
Hmm.
that it's a first time for them and 100th time for you. So never shortcut the process, the explanation, everything. This whole idea of one of the things, particularly, this is leaders generally, but particularly the CEO, someone in a very, very towards the top, they have to have a number of characteristics that most people don't have or aren't comfortable with. One is being able to be comfortable with ambiguity and paradox,
Mm-hmm.
to hold those relatively lightly. The other is the willingness to admit they're completely wrong and just stop. I was wrong. Let's stop this. Uh, the other is to be willing to stop or change direction on comparatively limited information. I remember when I was running the business, we'd started doing a project, and we were rolling out a product, and all the feedback was, this is no good. And someone said, oh, we haven't got all the trial data in yet. No, we've got enough to say this is a bad idea, so let's stop now. You know? So these are some of the qualities. I think a willingness also for personal sacrifice, um, because really leadership, I believe that to be in leadership is to be in service, and to be in service in mythological terms is to die for the cause. Whether literally or figuratively.
Right.
Uh, I'm moderately dyslexic, so sometimes my thought patterns run off in rather curious places. So please feel free to rescue you, me, and the listeners if we end up in the wrong place.
So the question I'd ask, I'm going to answer it this way, is that sometimes we've all had a sense of knowing. When I ask audiences, tell me about a story in your family where a family member knew somebody else was in trouble, but they defied the laws of space and time, just a sense of Billy's in trouble, and they call up, and sure enough, oh, it's almost in a car accident or what have you. So we have this sense of knowing that we're more than this physical self. So sometimes leaders have this, we need to go here, here's why, but we're going to figure it out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
If you did all the other leadership things right, where you've got trust, you got respect, you're a good visionary, you're a great communicator, if all those things are there, then people trust you on that journey and trust in you to go down that. Because the worst thing in the world is you're saying, let's go here. And after the meeting, VPs go back to their own teams and say, oh, they're thinking about doing this, but we're not going to do anything to support it. Just keep your head down. This too shall pass. That when you have that level of trust, people will actually take a bullet for you to go down that path. So I think that fundamental stuff is really important. And the second thing is, I think the Achilles heel of a lot of leaders is we're all humans, and a lot of leaders have a need to be liked. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the data is in that this project needs to be killed, but they'll delay the decision because they don't want to be the bad guy. Well, let's give them another month or two to kind of really figure this out for themselves. And that's your thoughts on that, the need to be liked.
If you need to be liked, you're probably in the wrong career. um, I would rather respect a boss than like a boss.
Yes.
So my best bosses are always people I've really respected. And I think that's a better quality in leadership than being liked.
True. And I think what's interesting is that oftentimes we think this stuff is just hot wired in. And what I find is when you ask a CEO, okay, tell me about a particular time you were in a meeting and you knew you had to go decision A, because you had this need to be liked and give them another chance, you opted for decision B. Go back to that moment and see what you saw in that room, hear what you heard the conversations. When you do those two things, you get to re-experience what you were feeling in your body. And it's like, oh yeah, that was like an uncomfortable feeling right here. And you can use that. There's a branch of psychology called neuro-linguistic programming, and you can use that feeling as a GPS to go to the pivotal moment where they made that decision that I need to be liked, and just go back there and change it. And when you do that, then they can make decisions. Doesn't mean they're going to be mean bosses, but they can just make decisions quickly, and there isn't any internal anguish to do that. And I think that's the missing link, is that we think leadership is about the mechanics of leadership. Here's the process. Here's what I need to say. Here is the SWOT analysis, and here's this. And I think no, leadership is all about that internal stuff that's going on, and how you can use your ability to get people to overcome their uncertainties and use that human equation to make things happen.
And one way also in the moment to get over those kind of discomfort, I want to be liked, is to bring into the world that's what's going on inside.
Yeah.
So if you say,
Hallelujah.
you know, we're here, here's a decision we have to make. Honestly, I'd much rather just say, let's have another couple of weeks. You might break through. But you know what? I'm going to have to say no. And I'm sorry to kill it, but I'm going to have to. Because if you make the whole thing visible, it can be a little easier. I understand that over time you're going to have to work with that leader, because that is ultimately, if they won't make tough decisions because they want to be liked, that is ultimately a fatal flaw.
So I'm going to add one thing to that, because I agree 100% that when you keep everything inside and you're this black box and you're making a decision, then that's not good. But the whole idea of leadership, at least from my point of view, is my job is to become redundant. If I can get the people that I lead to become better leaders, then my job as a leader becomes really simple. I need to have a compelling vision that people want to take a bullet for, that moves us forward. Number two is work on the culture of the organization. And three, how do I get long-term shareholder value, make this thing that we're building more valuable? If I get caught up in operations because people aren't uh, stepping up to their leadership positions, and one of the ways to do that, extending on your idea, is that, hey guys, I understand you guys want to continue this thing here. I think this is not going to work, and here's why. Now, defend your position. Why do you think we should keep on going?
Mm-hmm.
And then that gives them the ability to, because oftentimes people don't think through things enough. And you can provide that space for them to articulate, and once in a while they're going to be right because they've articulated it and defended it. And I think, but it takes a courageous leader to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pierce, who is someone that in your journey that you saw as a great leader that you kind of went, wow, this person was like just was somebody worth mentioning?
It is interesting, because of the way I work. I usually get to work with really good people,
Mm,
because there's a self-selection. I get recommended, or we're talking, and I'll have a long conversation. I've only once or twice in 20 years taken on clients where the chemistry was okay, because I'm looking for good chemistry, because if we're going to do good work, we want really good chemistry. So I'm lucky. So my pool is a good pool to start with. So without mentioning any names, um, I've had one client who's running an insurance business, and he's very, very, very clever, rocket science clever, but could be, when we started, could be quite transactional. And through time, he's become, he's allowed all his warmth and humanity to come out. So
nice.
now we're dealing with absolute 5-star, absolute top, because you have this incredible strategic vision, this ability to think in his head as he goes along, plus he's good with his people and brings them in. Um, and that actually, when I think about it, because I'm thinking about different people, it's this. I think it's the humanity that actually is the ultimate differentiator. That
True that.
to that, I really think it is.
So when you look at the greatest leaders that are like revered,
Mhm.
oftentimes powerless, like take Gandhi and the British Empire. It's like if he did not have that human quality and that humanity, people don't follow. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't have that reservoir to connect on that human connection, this is where you can't inspire, in their case, hundreds of millions of people to kind of do what they did. So, Pierce, this has been a fascinating conversation, and I've learned a lot. Where can people find you in the world?
Well, I've got a very long name, so once you remember it, it's easy because there's only one of me. So my first name is Piers, and Piers is Old English for Peter.
Oh, did not know
It's
that.
it's the same root, Peter, Pierre, Pedro. So that's Piers. Fallow field is the system of crop rotation. You'd grow wheat one year, barley another, then you'd rest the field. So
Mm.
that's fallow field. And Cooper was the barrel makers. So for beer. So Piers Fallowfield Cooper is really quite an old name. So
Well, actually, you need the wheat to make wheat beer in barrels.
there you go. You see, it's complete. It's complete. Um,
Well,
so you can find me through the book title "Are You Still the Future," which comes up, or pop my name in, and I come up instantly on any search engine.
brilliant. Uh, it was brilliant chatting with you. Thank you so much. And we'll chat after I hit the stop button. And looking forward to our next conversation.
Lovely. Thanks, Uwe. Thanks so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.